All right, so in today's leadership training session, I am back with my good friend and mentor, Kevin. We've been talking about mentorship.
That's right.
We've learned a lot about one another as well. By the way, this is part 3. So in our session outline, we have parts 1 and 2. In part 1, we learned about who's the better basketball player. In part 2, which I'll give a little cliffhanger, I wanted to punch you at one point.
That's a good one.
And we learned about why that was. Now, in this last session, Kevin, we've talked about the benefits of mentoring. We've talked about the excuses that people make and how to get past that. Now, what I want to do is I want to get really practical here. Okay. So let's say I see this person who I want to have some intentional investment with, or on the flip side, there's somebody that I would love to learn from. Right? So as I'm looking for this, what do I do? Like, how do I practically go up to that person?
Yeah, so the context that I'm in here, we're constantly trying to recruit people out of churches to mentor people. So that's the context that I'm in here. And one of the things I encourage people in that context is we're not called to just be a recipient of something. I always refer to Genesis chapter 12, where God says to Abram, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to make your name great so that you will be a blessing. And so that's the context I'm in here, that for many of y'all, what I would want to encourage you with is like, hey, look, both have a mentor and a mentee, even if you don't feel capable, qualified, all that type of stuff. So let's say you're in a situation where you're like, man, I really want to learn from somebody. There are so many people out there. I don't care if you're 25 or 55 or 75. I talk to people all the time that want to learn from somebody. So my encouragement with you to be with this is take the initiative and go out and ask. Protect their time.
Okay.
So if you want to go to somebody, you want to learn something. Like for instance, I want to learn how to build a house. You probably remember this.
I do remember this. Yeah.
So my contractor that I hired was going to build a house 3 doors down. So I was like, hey, how about I do this? How about I come help you frame? I mean, I could use a hammer and a saw, and you don't pay me. But then when I start building my house, I want to frame my own house. So every day after work and on the weekends for about 3 weeks, I went and framed his house with him, learned how to do it, framed my own. So the idea of it, you bring something to value to them. So oftentimes if somebody, a well-meaning person might say to somebody, hey, would you mentor me? Well, now all the pressure is on the mentor, as opposed to if you're in the situation you want to learn, go to them with something you're wanting to learn and try to bring value at the same time. For some people, the value might be, I'm not going to waste your time, I promise. Guys like you and I, we don't want to waste our time. Right. So if you go to them and you say, hey, can we meet like once a week, once every... Some people will say, yeah, but read this book first. Well, then read that book and then go back to them. Or you say to them things like, I promise you I'll be on time. I promise you I won't waste your time. Something like that until a relationship can get built. Sure. But take that initiative.
Absolutely. I like what you said there, Kevin, that it's not a one-way street with this, right? It's not just this almost like being a leech, right, with that. Like it has to be a two-way street. And you know, one of the things I was thinking about, I know that last session we talked a little bit about one of the excuses was time. Yeah. And people might be thinking about going, well, I don't want to be a burden to them, but do I have time to mentor? And I thought about this when you're talking about your house. You had somebody help kind of mentor you as you're learning to frame your house, but you used the building of your house to mentor other people. Can you share that real quick? I thought this was a great use of your time.
It was just, it helped me and it helped them. Yeah. I mean, I needed help. I was framing a house. I didn't hardly know what I was doing. My experience was about 3 weeks old, right? But I had a lot of young guys that wanted to come learn how to do it as well. So it caused me to learn more because I'm explaining more. Therefore, I'm teaching and they're learning. And so both are benefiting in that situation. Even in my context now, I try to get godly people to mentor kids in different tough environments. I've had some people say, well, I'm an empty nester. Maybe I could do this, but I kind of screwed up with my own kids. I'm like, hey, it's okay. We kind of laugh and talk about it. I've had some people, Shawn, you appreciate this. I've got 6 kids in my house. Right. 3 biological kids, 2 adopted kids, and we still foster. But I've had some people say, well, you kind of have an advantage because you have young kids in your house. I'm like, I've got 6 kids under the age of 13. Right. But they're like, well, you kind of have an advantage. But here's the thing, is for people who are saying, what can I do to make an impact? I would say, just consider your age and stage of life and invite somebody into that age and stage that you're in.
That's good.
So for us, we got a bunch of young kids. So when I grab my mentee, who's 12 years old, hey, come hang out with our family. Because you know what? We already have 6 others. No big deal. So when you think about how you could do it, if you're looking to maybe mentor somebody younger, I'd encourage you for 2 things. One is this. Maybe consider how Jesus did it. He simply said this, hey, follow me. That's what mentoring is, right? It's just setting an example. So take the initiative and say to somebody, hey, why don't you follow me? Just come be with me, right? And the second thing is just make the time, make the space to do it by inviting them into your age and stage of your life and letting them learn in the process.
Absolutely. I like what you said there, Kevin. It's really just sharing our life.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And so if you like to golf,
yes,
play around of golf with them. If you like to play basketball,
like I do, I'm so good at it. I'm so good.
You know, I learned most of my no. Sorry, I can't say that on camera. People are.
That's right.
That's right. You know, I really like that. I really like that a lot. And so here's today's game plan. First off, if you haven't, watch parts 1 and 2. They're really informative. And you get to learn more about us in that process, which is a little bit scary. But please watch that. I think it'll be very beneficial to you. But here's the second part, and this is the one that really counts here. I like what Kevin just said right here. I think everybody should have someone who is mentoring them and someone that they are mentoring. So I want you to look at your sphere of influence, okay? And I want you to pick one person that you start thinking about. And as Kevin said, simply ask them just to be a part of your life. Just share your life with them, whatever context that is. And then find somebody who's just a little bit further along the leadership journey that you are. And ask them to be a part of your life as well. Okay. Well, let me leave you with our tweetable lesson. It's by Winston Churchill. You make a living by what you get. You make a life by what you give.